Okay, completing the square part 2. What happens if there is an a value in front of our x squared term? We're going to go through 2 examples. What happens if there is an a value there instead of just having a regular old x squared? So what we want to do is keep in mind that we're actually only going to make the square out of the first 2 terms. So we're going to actually forget that the plus c happens at the end. We're just going to ignore it right now, put it at the end, and don't bother it. Now, whatever this value is in front of the x squared is what needs to happen. You can only complete the square. The actual process of completing the square is if you have a 1x squared. So regardless of whether or not there's a GCF between these 2 terms, we're not looking for that. We really actually want to take whatever number that we have out front and take that out of these 2 terms. So we're going to ignore that this happens right here, this 2 out front. We are going to try to complete the square with what I have left over. So we're going to take this -6. We're going to divide -6 by 2, and we're going to get -3. When you square -3, you get 9. Now normally, since we're adding 9 in here, we're going to subtract 9 out here. However, in this case, it's not just a 9 that we have. There's this little pesky 2 out front. So we're not going to be able to just subtract 9. We are going to have to subtract whatever 2 times 9 would be, which would be 18. So we have the 2 out front, the x squared minus 6x plus 9 that we have in here creates the square x minus 3. And then we have -5 minus 18 is going to be -23. Technically, if you would like to make a vertex of this, it would be 3, -23. This would mean that you basically just have a stretch factor in this. Okay, moving on. What happens if we had a negative out front? Same thing as before, we're going to actually factor out from just the first 2 terms a negative, which means that we are going to make a square out of x squared plus 19x. This one's not going to be as nice because 19 is not evenly divided by 2. So we can't have a nice whole number in that sense. But 19 squared is all right, 19 squared is 361 and 2 squared is 4. I ran out of room over here. So when we added 361 over 4, normally we would think, oh, we're going to subtract 361/4 over here. However, remember, this is actually going to be adding in technically a negative 361/4 because you would have to take the negative out front times your 361/4. So actually, we're going to need to, in order to balance this out, do the opposite of that, which is what a lot of people forget is multiplying by whatever value that you have taken out front. So we have negative. Our square comes from x plus 19 over 2. And then we are going to think of 7 as a denominator of 4, which would be 28, in order to be able to add together our 361/4 and 28 plus 361 is 389/4. Oops, that's a 2.